looks like it's recording. We can trim things out if we get some crap there. But yeah, as in my main concern with even trialing this is the whole idea behind these collaborative sessions is really to create that energy that we need in order to get future of work and those kinds of concepts working and making these models normal, which is where we started. My concern with recording these episodes is we become conscious that they are being recorded. So, and we don't keep it normal. So if we think of this record button as the security cameras on the side of the road and just get on with a normal life, I think we'll be probably in the right place. So as long as we do that.
I think what's interesting, you mentioned Open Assembly as well. So the way that they've framed it by going around the room and getting a couple of minutes from each person and saying what happened this week, that's kind of the similar idea to this.
Yes. Do they publish it anywhere, by the way? I have no idea because I see. Oh, do they?
Yeah, okay. All their recordings are just pushed out on the Harvard Business School which is the one. Yeah, I think it's Harvard they're associated with.
Oh, okay. Would you mind sending me a link? Because I do see the recording starting, but I never see the output. And some of it you do want to, you get a few distractions and then you say, oh, but what was said there? You can go back, of course. But yeah, I wouldn't mind if you can ping me the link for it. And then to me, frankly, that's a huge value add that you've done for me personally, because that intro has really helped me create a language around. And I went to their website and I saw Andrew Barnes is listed over there on the site. Yeah. So you've been with them for a long time then?
Coming up to a year, because it was about last summer when I found them and started doing the meetings. But I think they've been going for maybe 2 years, but they used to do monthly meetings. And then when lockdown started to happen globally, they said, look, let's just do weekly because we need each other, we just need a bit of time. And by the way, we're not spending any time traveling, so we've got the availability.
Yeah. I wonder if, as in COVID, with all the bad things that COVID has brought, as in this, without COVID, I don't know if we would have even tapped into this, frankly. It would have been a very US co-located concept with a webinar once in a while. And now suddenly, we are all just tuned in. And it just, to me, is fantastic. So I've been reaching out to a few OA members and having some great conversations with them, actually. And some of them are crazy and mad, as I always do, which I must share with you, actually. But I'm talking to Tom Cook. He's, I think, been around for a...
Space Up or Space?
Spacely, yeah. So Tom's been doing something very similar in the space arena, if you like. And one of the things that I should show you the scribbles. So I invested in this whiteboard specifically because I love whiteboards. And what I was finding is the physical whiteboards are too limiting. So this one's got infinity canvas. But one of the things that is there is a roadmap of where I want to go, as small outside, where do we want to see it go over the next few years, all the way to 2032 when I'm 60. So it's saying, where does Dash want to go? And then therefore, where does small outside go as a result? Because it really is a reflection of me. And one of the things, and I'm very, very consciously, Andy, getting into very scary zones because I want to be shit scared, if I'm being honest. So one of
you want to be, or you are?
No, you know what? Funnily enough, either I've gone mad, or I'm talking. I don't know which way it is, but it's probably utter nonsense at times. So one of the moonshots that so on the roadmap, which I should be able to show you, but it will take a bit of fiddling right now. We're still getting the systems set up properly. But one of the moonshots, because initially I'm very focused on tech, getting these models working in the tech industry, because that's what I understand. But slowly moving to other areas, as in where you've started, is very much, you've gone wide, but I was wide and then I went deep.
Yeah.
So initially tech, and this is current thinking, but then look at media as the next one. Any project-based activity is very well aligned for the work that you and I are doing. And media is definitely one. And I understand that industry because of having been in advertising marketing before. But the moonshot there is a movie, an Oscar-winning movie by 2026. Right now, it's
to make a movie.
To make a movie, use open talent, crowdsourcing, community, open source, all those concepts coming together. Now, call me silly, but I would rather just dream crazy right now. So one of the ideas is, it's done. It's been done, not necessarily Oscar winning, by the way, but it's been done. People have created movies on their iPhones, and
yeah, absolutely.
There are creative people there. So how do you bring people who are script writers and people who are great with visualizing scenes and people who are actors? And this could be people who are trying to get into the industry. It doesn't have to be experts, but there will be some young, bright talent there. But if you can create a platform where these people can come and connect up, and the moonshot there would then be, is you need a goal which is a bit more real with clear outcomes in order to achieve them. So to me, I thought having an Oscar-winning movie by a certain date would be a good goal to have. Scary, but good.
No, but what's interesting is that what technology usually does is it puts the ability to do things in the hands of the creator.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things about platforms related to work is that what we're saying is you don't need to go and use an outsourced agency model or anything like that. You can do it all yourself.
Yeah.
But the irony of that, of course, is we're saying don't run your whole business yourself. Use talent who might be better equipped to do a specific task.
Absolutely.
So we're saying two different things in the same breath.
Yeah.
So as you said, with film specifically, we all have the technology now to film, capture, edit, go from script writing through to production, and actually then the publishing of films. I haven't done it, but you can obviously publish on YouTube. But I imagine there are other places you can publish films that are feature length.
Yeah, absolutely. There should be something. If there isn't, then there is a market. There is how I see it, right?
So the question would be whether or not if you are the owner of the idea.
Yeah.
How many of the facets do you then use some sort of crowdsourcing platform or invite-only talent matching? How many of those things? I think you said script. So you're going to have maybe the idea for the plot, but you're not going to write it. You're going to give that to some script writers.
No, I'm thinking something even different. I'm thinking on. So if you look at how open source works, as in, I understand technology, but how open source works is it's got a person who had a vision, right? It starts with that. And yes, the person then needs to remain involved and you gather momentum around it. And the person says, you know what, this is what I want to do, Andy. Do you want to participate? Andy says, oh, I like that idea. And then energy starts getting created. So I'm talking about crowdsourcing, not in terms of here's a problem, give us, as in running a challenge, not that kind of thing. It's really, this is my vision. This is the big dream I want to achieve. Anyone interested? People come along or people don't come along. That itself is feedback from the market. But what you do is you create energy by getting like-minded people together. It may be evenings, weekends, conversations like these, as in what you and I are doing are essentially passion conversations. That's all we are really doing at this stage.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you then get people together? The need there is for some facilitation, which is what I want Small Outside to do. So it is a facilitation platform. It's a connecting platform. And I have a I named the platform. You start naming things when you're in technology. So it's the KNX platform. So it's Connex, but KNX, but KNX version 1, KNX version 2, that kind of thing. But the idea there is, how do you actually get people with passion connected with other people who are well aligned to their thinking? The promoter or the person who first thought of it, of course, it's their baby, so they keep an eye on it and they make sure it's kind of going. But you just let the crowd take it away and see what comes out at the other end. The goal is always reminded. So you say, look, but that's what we were trying to do, guys. Are we on track? That somebody says, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, but it doesn't quite work with our goals. So there is that kind of thing. But what you're doing is, through the process, you're creating a platform for the talent to showcase their capability, right? So if I'm a script writer, I don't understand films at all. I used to be in advertising. I know what this is all about, but ask me to write a script, I don't know. Ask me to compose music, I have no idea. But I know there are people out there who probably think like me, and they say, yeah, I like it, Dash, let's align, right? And that's all I'm really trying to do through this process. It's very common in so you set a roadmap. Basically, if you look at open source, how it works, you set a roadmap, you let the natural energy work around it. People argue it out between themselves, and they say, oh, look, here's a problem. People swarm around it. They say, right, this is how we will solve it. Some of those arguments can get proper proper arguments. They can be pretty rich in terms of the viewpoints, and people then find the middle ground. But what you are evolving through that process is something that is baked in properly, and it's how do I describe it? It has gone through the right number of challenges in order to get to that mature state. So to me, that's what I love about open source. It's very collaborative. It's very self-balancing way. So how do you actually use open source techniques to build the first Oscar-winning movie? And how do you therefore then promote the talent? As in, if you look at GitHub, for example, while people think, oh, it's a repo, isn't it? It's more than a repo, because suddenly developers have an avenue. When you're just getting on the career ladder, people don't really want to know you, because you are a liability initially until you get up to speed. But if you don't have the skills and you don't have the opportunities, where do you build the skills? So what GitHub creates is an opportunity for people to showcase their skills. And people say, oh, look, this chap has done this. I can go and look at the code. Oh, therefore, this person has this capability. And a platform such as to give it a code name, actually, Oscar award movie or whatever, would give that platform and network as well, because a script writer may collaborate with other script writers and learn from each other. So everyone's growing in the process, and anyone who wants to tap into their talent can also come to Small Outside and tap into their talent. And that could be the financial aspect of this model, because it needs to generate some revenue.
I was going to ask about the money.
Yeah. As in,
there is that thing that I was in a clubhouse the other day, and people talking about getting started, and their question was something along the lines of, I run a business, I have no money to pay anybody, but I'd like to get some people on board. However, I don't want them to be needy. I don't want them to need my management time or training time. I want them to hit the ground running. Yeah. And I was listening and I was going, then you need money. You need to pay people, because nobody will work for free. They might work for free if they're being trained, and they might work for free if they have equity in it, but that's still money. Yeah. You're going to need to share your business idea at the top and allow people to have a chunk of that. Yeah. You're not going to give them cash.
Yeah. Is it money, though? Is it money or is it value? As in, I do debate this quite actively, actually, because if I get value out of it, and it could be sweat equity, right? So it may be that...
That's fine. Yeah. That's still money. I know it might not come off, but that's still people buying into a vision and saying, "I'll put
Yeah,
time in for an outcome."
yeah.
Uh, I was just looking up. There's just while I remember, so there's a woman called Alison Grade who wrote the Freelance Bible.
Mhm.
She does a lot of work with freelancers. She's on our website as well, so I'll share that with you after this. But her book would be worth. It'd basically be worth talking to. She's a lovely woman. I've had a few chats. I haven't read her book, but the gist of it is in the media sector, how do
Yeah.
you get your first job as a freelancer, which has
Oh
some
wow. Okay. Yeah.
similarities with your idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That said, I know that those ideas in the book are relatively traditional based ideas.
Yeah.
They're probably not on the same plane as what you're thinking of doing.
Yeah. 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 As in, to be honest, I'm not a clever man at all. These are models I'm seeing elsewhere. So what I'm doing is connecting, building patterns in my head to where I want to go. What's out there? Let's not reinvent wheels. Let's repurpose wheels almost. Some wheels may not fit. Some wheels will fit. Who knows? Time will tell us.
No, I think you are onto something actually, because if I look at, I've looked a little bit at the media industry, and there are one or two websites that have recreated that booking model.
Yeah.
But they all they charge an awful lot of money, and B, they're still on the knowledge model, where instead of saying to the crowd, "I've got an idea, dip in, dip out, whatever, upvote it, downvote," all it does actually is it uses the internet as a quicker means of the company that has the ownership of the client getting to the talent.
Yeah.
And you're still there going, well, hang on a minute. That's no different to a traditional agency model where you'd walk up to their front door or fax them your CV or something like that. They still own the whole relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what we're both working towards with platforms is the idea that you don't have a controlling party.
No.
You might have a platform that supports both sides with contracts or invoicing and project management tools, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that middle party is a support tool. It's not a decision maker.
Exactly. I like the use of the word tools there, because that's essentially what you and I are trying to do here, right? So we are providing the glue layer. What comes out of it is really what will come out of it for people who participate in the spirit of that platform that we're building. So it's definitely not designed as, and just going back to your point about people motivated by money. 4 years back when I started, my focus was how do I reward people more on money, and therefore get people interested in what I was saying. And what I was realizing was, yes, money is important. Money is a motivator. And to me, it's a feedback mechanism. It's if somebody says, Dash, you're great, but says, yeah, I'll only pay you 50 quid a day, that tells me that's the measure that the person's doing. To me, it's a feedback mechanism, right? But if somebody says, I'll give you 100,000, brilliant, that would be nice. But then I know that they are saying my value equals 100,000. Therefore, that is a feedback for me. And so I'm treating it as a metrics versus, yes, when I go to Tesco's, if I have 10p less, they will not give me, they won't release the bread, right? But, and it's a reality, but
they might. If you go on Instagram and do a video of you buying bread and tell them they'll sell much more bread if they let you have it for nothing, that's one interesting way. There's a couple who live near me, and they go around different shops and video themselves eating the food, and they get the food for nothing.
Really?
They've got a YouTube audience of X thousand. I don't know. And to be honest, I know them. They're not. I'm not massively good friends with them. They're not that interesting to be with. I'm thinking, who's watching this YouTube channel? Who's so excited about watching someone who's not interesting eat food? But that's the bit where you mentioned your age at the very beginning. It's the bit where I do look at how my kids use technology and therefore think, well, my ideas of what YouTube is for probably aren't aligned with what YouTube is for.
Yes, yes.
Or at least not in the majority sense.
Yeah.
So just because I don't understand Instagram doesn't mean that Instagram doesn't have a place. So the people that you might need to appeal to aren't looking for someone like you to say, can you do this thing? But if you can put the right technology there, they might find you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get you. And it's one of the things, and maybe it's slightly loosely related. Quite often, have we probably have the same conversations, but when it comes to kids, they say, "Oh, so and so did this at school, and I'm unhappy and not my best friend right now." And they go through those motions. Girls definitely do a lot more. And I keep reminding them, look, there are 8 billion people on this planet, right? You only want to choose a few good ones that you really want to thrive and enjoy your time with. You've got 8 billion choices, right? So just coming back to working with individuals who share your passion, there are 8 billion people who are there, and only maybe you just need 10 of them to share your passion. You don't need too many, to be honest. And once you get the momentum there, the VC funding comes in, they see the evidence that you are onto something. You can then get the talent that is needed in order to. I'm not saying everything just happens purely on passion. It would be foolish to say that. You do need people who are also, as in personally, I would go as far as saying, yes, everything happens on passion and must happen on passion, but there are things that you need to do. As in, if you need to go to Tesco's and get something for the team, and the person over there is contributing to your team indirectly, is not aligned to your thought process, but it's an element of that engagement that's necessary. And you'll have people in your team who just do the stuff to keep the team moving. But the initial energy that you need has to come from people who are willing to do work with you for free. That to me is very important almost, because that's where the passion is starting to get built. You're getting the right energy, or you're getting wrongly focused people.
Is that before you get that, and I've got an example that might be suitable for this, but before you get the energy of others, I think you need to create it yourself first.
Agreed.
So the example I was going to give is, I don't know how much radio you listen to, but I have Radio 4 Extra, the comedy shows and stuff like that. Yeah. Not all of them, but a half, let's say. Pick a number. At the end of the show, it says, this show was created by, Jack, Jill, Fred, Jane, whatever. Yeah. And it says, with contributions from, and then it lists out some names. And I'm sure there's one of those shows that is fully contributed to by the audience, but it's not a flagship show. Now, BBC Radio 4 has a huge amount of money behind it because we all have to pay towards it if you live in this country. So it's funded. It's fully funded, and it's been going for years. So everybody knows the brand name, and it's everywhere. Yeah. So to then have a radio show, which then is a flagship comedy show, and that has contributions, and then there are spin-offs that are even smaller. Yeah. The number of listeners to those things might only be in the hundreds of thousands. But if you can get one joke and then get a contribution, then clearly it can then go on your CV of work of sorts.
Completely.
So if you're going to be a filmmaker, if Steven Spielberg says, I'm looking for contributions to this new film I'm making, everybody will say, yeah, count me in. And we've seen, you talked about Tom earlier from Spacely. The other people in Open Assembly, there's the whole NASA crowd with Steve and so on. Yeah. NASA get loads of people writing every year saying, hey, can I come and work with you? Yeah. And some are through these platforms, but I imagine a huge number of direct anyway, just saying, look, I want to go into space. Let me help. I don't even know what I want to do. I want to stand near the spaceship. Let me help.
Yeah.
So the interesting bit for me would be, how do you get a brand like the BBC or NASA? How do you create that interest that people will go to a search engine, for example, Google, and type in, I want to be on Dash's Hollywood A-list, make a film from scratch. It's that bit.
Agree.
And it's almost that question for me as well with Six Prog is how do I get people to go, oh, that's the place I'm going to go to look at the various things that we do.
Agreed. But isn't that your and my role, which is to provide that platform? And what you were saying earlier, and you're absolutely right. If you say, look, this is what you want to do, and if you just talk about it, but don't put your skin in the game and lead the way, then nothing's going to happen. So you do need to create that energy. But isn't that the role of a platform to actually provide that leaping pad or the interconnect, like even through the work you are doing there, Andy, in terms of creating the SOWs and the contract management and all, you are providing the tools, you are providing the capability for people who really want to enjoy the gig economy, work independently. You are creating an interconnect for businesses. Yes, Six Prog is at early stages of its life. BBC may not know about it today. Somebody else will not know about it today, but that's the whole point, isn't it? You are on a journey, and at some point, if you've got the right energy on the platform, that will happen, is my view. And likewise, same on smalloutside.com. It's got to do the right things in order to attract the right people. You don't want to attract everyone, because what you want is people who are quality people. Ultimately, quality is what wins in today's marketplace. And if you are adding value to them, and if it is transparent, and the reason why we are having such open conversations, which fully knowing we're going to stick it on YouTube and people are going to scrutinize us, I guess, is that transparency. If it exists, people trust you. And if you are truly adding value, that's how the world works, in my opinion. But just
sorry to jump in. The bit about trust was the key bit. When you talk to me about this concept of putting our discussions online, when you look at the people who have been there and done that, so the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezos and all those kind of people, the bit that gets everybody going is the recent stuff with Elon Musk saying Tesla will accept Bitcoin. No, it won't, because of environmental reasons. Oh, yes, it will. And the questions around whether that's ethical or not, they're pretending to be ethical in order to change the price of Bitcoin, perhaps. Are they? We don't know. Then they talk about environment, but Tesla, environmental company, batteries, blah, blah, blah. SpaceX, not all that environmental at the moment. It might, long term, it might be if we're mining on the moon and doing our natural resources stuff in Mars and bringing that back, and then the Earth is like a pretty garden, which I think is the long term, like 100 years view. Moonshot, literally. But at the moment, you're kind of going, are you just a boy with lots of really big, expensive toys and firing stuff off into space, having quite a good time, probably? So I'm really interested in the trust and honesty bit, because actually, especially where we are politically in this country, and the US is sort of righting itself at the moment, but politically, the other, I'm on my soapbox a little bit here, but the other day, apparently, Russian defence ships and planes bombed a British destroyer. Having said that, it was fortunate that the Daily Mail and, was it the Sun or the BBC, there were a couple of journalists on board, which immediately I was going, do we always send journalists out with our navies? I don't know why we are, if we are. Why are we doing that? And do we need, does Britain at the moment need anything to make us come together? Well, we've had all these issues with Brexit and COVID, so maybe we do. So let's start a pretend war. So I have huge questions around why we're being, given these news stories, whether we're being fed them as propaganda or whether they're actually going on. And I'm completely disconnected from that. But I would be really keen to see a big honesty drive from all the people who are in control.
No, I agree, and which is why I have been toying with this. I'm really glad you said yes to this, because to me, there will always be people who will criticize you, right? So whatever you say, even this conversation that we are having, although there is no pretense here, somebody is going to, I'm sure, think, must have been scripted. Maybe they are trying to showcase a side of them. And frankly, do I want to be interested in those negative people? Not really. The reason why we are doing this is we are saying it's a catalog. And like at the start of this call, I said, this shouldn't distract us. That's not the point here. The point here is we should have a normal conversation. We are just putting a layer of transparency, or not layer of transparency, we are putting transparency. We're removing all the layers here and saying, look, this is what we are trying to do. If you like what we are trying to do, join us. If you don't like it, criticize us. That's fine. We'll treat it as feedback and improve our conversations going forward. Because I'm sure somebody will say, look, I don't quite agree with you. Yes, you're absolutely right. Maybe we have to agree to disagree. But to me, it's that kind of spirit and energy that we need in these conversations, really.
One interesting thing that we will get from this, because I'm doing some interviews with another firm, and I put a few of them on our website, and I had a pitch from a company. And as normally, you begin most of these meetings, say, oh, do you want to go first, or shall I go first? Just give you an idea about our business. And he went, oh, I feel like I know you already, because I've watched half a dozen videos of you talking about your company and things you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, oh, right, okay. Then he said, so I can tell you what you do if you want.
That'd be good to hear.
It's a bit, there was an element where it was disconcerting. There was also an element where that must be what it's like for people who are on TV. People meet them in the street and they know them already.
Yes,
and of course, it's not reciprocated.
Yes. But if you think of this, in a way, solves a certain problem. When you're a startup, you have a vision, you have passion. You often don't have money unless you are really rich. But in order to reach people, as in what I find I'm doing is I'm spending lots of time. I should be doing stuff what I would call traditionally work, like writing code or building platforms or doing testing or something like that. But I don't get time for it. I'm spending more time spreading the idea and having conversations, mobilizing energy around this. But if you like those people who said, oh, I can tell you about what you do, what you're doing is essentially reaching out to a much wider audience, going back to your point about are you aligned to YouTube, and is this the right use of YouTube? Maybe this is the right use of YouTube. Just put it out there, let people see you in your flesh and bones without any pretense or anything, and let them join your vision and your passion and say, look, Andy, I love this, what you're doing. I'm going to join you, roll my sleeves up. I can only put 2 hours a week. So what? Those 2 hours will be passionate 2 hours for sure.
No, I think it's good. I mean, the opposite also happens, of course. So this week, somebody on LinkedIn sent me a lovely message saying, can we connect? I've heard you're a really good recruiter, and here's my CV. And part of me goes, great, nice to be talked about. However, not a recruiter, not interested in CVs, not remotely. And I sort of looked, and industry-wise, I'm going, I don't really know much about your industry either, mate. So there was something there where part of me had the wrong attitude to that. I should take on board the positives, but also they're going, oh, come on, do a bit of, if you're going to approach someone, do a bit of sales research, go and find the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So some of this actually is helping the people who aren't aware that could be some of their research policy.
Yeah.
If you are in a sales type, outreach type role, yes, you should go and look, traditionally it was go and look at their website, go back 10 years, 20 years, check out their website, pretend you know something about them, phone them up. Lovely. Now, maybe it's go and watch a few of their YouTube videos, find out what they're actually doing with their life, and then contribute if you can.
And that is exactly the authentic way of doing things. As in, I get this. This was very funny, and I do at some point want to post. I'm just very conscious when I post on LinkedIn. I don't know at what point your posts are seen as spam, because if you keep sending all kinds of every thought that passes through your stream of consciousness, that would be spam in my opinion. But one of the things I do very consciously is if people reach out to me, want to connect with me on LinkedIn, they usually start with, I've been looking at your profile, it looks very interesting, would like to connect. And I say, that just feels a bit of a cliche now, frankly. The first time I saw it, I thought, I got excited. Someone's interested in my profile. But now it's a cliche. And what I did is, as part of the many experiments I do, I sent a mail, and I wouldn't name and shame the person, but I sent a message just to see and test it. I said, look, this is getting a bit of a cliche now. What I'll do is, you tell me exactly why you want to connect with me in a bit more meaningful way, in something more specific way, which kind of motivates and inspires me as well if I want to connect with you. And I'll leave this open for the next 24 hours. After that, I'll simply say whatever the LinkedIn equivalent of is, I don't know this person and things. And surely enough, the chap didn't respond in 24 hours, firstly. He took 2 months to respond, and then he said, oh yeah, very smirky. And I said, look, you really didn't want to connect with me. What you really wanted to do was build the numbers on your profile. Look, this chap has so many followers. That's all you were really trying to do. So don't waste my time, go and do your thing. But it's quite interesting when people, and typically people misuse, they try to pretend to be authentic when they are not. And to me, the conversations need to be authentic, because that's where your energy is. And I connect with you, Andy, because those conversations are authentic. I speak to a lot of people, but you can see, I think as humans, we do recognize what is authentic, what is not. As in, some people may put a nice authenticity pretext and fool people, but at some point they come through, like this chap.
Yeah.
Was, oh, yeah.
I think there is a danger that with LinkedIn especially, it just becomes a numbers game of connections. Yeah. And even though you didn't buy that guy's product or get involved, it's still worth his while spamming, so many people.
Yeah.
And there's an element where it quite possibly is worth it.
Yeah.
I've noticed LinkedIn's tried to change what they do now. They're trying to push people to do following instead of connecting, which obviously means you don't know, unless you try and find out, you don't know you're being followed.
Yeah.
Which is, it's slightly creepy, perhaps, but
hey, we live in a very connected society now, and I think I read a blog long time back. It was about blogging, when blogging started, and it said this is the business of being naked in public, or something on those lines. And it was really what you're saying is, this is who I am. This is my thought process. Scrutinize me. If you think I'm rubbish, put the thumbs down, which people are very worried to do. But or if you think I'm really good, put a thumbs up, and that's what it goes to. I'm just very conscious. I've got a meeting in a minute now. But what I do want to do is we've touched on all kinds of things. It's been a great call. We've not quite progressed our conversations about collaborations.
No, I've enjoyed it. It's good.
Yeah. But one of the things which I did start saying about my crazy moonshots and Tom's my conversations with Tom and Steve as well. I'm speaking to Steve, I think next week or week after. But it's a crazy idea. I'm going to leave you with that, and let me know how stupid or silly it is. And I'm consciously looking for feedback. So one of the other moonshots is to have a crowdsourced something that takes off from the ground and goes up to a certain point. Call it a rocket, call it whatever, right? Now, this is crazy. I know it is crazy. I absolutely know, but it scares me, and I want to be scared. But I do want something which motivates me as well. So the moonshot here, which is what I'm in discussion with Tom on, is what is it that we can do where we get people's passion. You mentioned people wanting to just writing, they write to NASA, they say, I just want to stand next to a spaceship or whatever. How do we actually get that energy together crowdfunding, yes, anything in space goes into millions and millions and millions. But again, if there's enough passion there and there are people feel the need or they feel the passion themselves, I may have no need to get anywhere near writing a line of code that will go into space, but I may just want humanity to move forward and not have private enterprises pushing things in the air. Maybe as a crowd we get something taken off the ground. Why not have a spaceship or something getting off the ground? Now, this is crazy, and I get it fully, Andy. It is a moonshot, which is what it is. So I'm working with Tom on that. Let's see where it goes. The least it will do is we'll probably have some great conversations.
So the aim is to launch some sort of rocket?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was expecting that expression. I'm trying to work it out in my head as well.
Okay. I'm trying to think of use cases. That's what I'm going through. I'm trying to think, well, what would be the... So you can do it in itself, but you can do that on fireworks night. You can pop down the shop, spend 20 quid, get a rocket.
Not that kind of rocket.
Yeah, exactly. In a micro sense, you've achieved it.
I'm talking about space exploration more seriously, but how do you actually use crowd? And it's a moonshot at the end of it. Even if it doesn't achieve a full rocket landing on moon or joining Elon's SpaceX to Mars, it is a moonshot, which will probably, even if it results in a hackathon of some kind, which is what Tom and me we are exploring. The next conversation is going to be, could we even have a hackathon where people come in and they say, look, let's join hands, meet like-minded people to even visualize what would it take to get this off the ground, this whole idea. The goal is not, let's do it next year. It's 2030, I think we said. 2030, what would it take to get a crowd-funded, crowd-sourced rocket off the ground into space? Not the Tesco rocket, by the way. So it's just a thought at the moment.
No, I like it. I think I'll send you, there's a podcast I've been listening to about Boeing and Rolls-Royce and all of the stuff that goes into NASA and how SpaceX ended up replacing them for taking stuff up to the space station and back. And it talks about Blue Origin and all the stuff, Bezos and Virgin Galactic as well. So I'll send you that set of podcasts. It's quite good.
That would be good.
Yeah, it'll either motivate you more to join in, or you'll be saying, hang on a minute, there's a lot to do here. But the interesting thing about what you're saying is what you said. You and Tom aren't rich people. You don't own international businesses.
Yeah.
And the only other set of people who've done it before those that I've just mentioned have been governments who own a huge amount of capital or have access to it. So do the people have enough capital to do it is the question.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't, which is why I reached out to Steve and I said, look, this is crazy. And I know it is crazy, but I would rather be crazy than be boring. And let me just validate, because what you don't want to do, there's a what's the word for it? Is it dissonance when things don't compute? Yeah. So you hear one thing, but you think, oh, that's so ridiculous that I'll just not even connect to it. So what you don't want is, you want a moonshot, you want a stretch goal, but you don't want something which people just can't relate to, which is what I'm trying to.
No, but the same thing, the cognitive dissonance thing.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, but that also happens when you say to your wife, I'm building a space rocket to the moon. She goes, you're nuts. And you go, yes, I'd like a cup of tea. And you just don't hear the
I get a lot of that. but like I say, I would rather be crazy than boring. So at least for 2021, that's my goal. 2022, we will see. if life says, Dash, get back in your box, be boring, do your 9-to-5 job, that's what I'll do. But 2021 is all about exploration for me, pushing limits.
let's do this again soon. And like you said, if anybody wants to join in, I'm at sixprog.com. So just 6prog.com. You're at smalloutside.com.
Yep.
SMALLOUTSIDE.
Yep, it is.
And yeah, I expect to see more pugs on your wall behind, and I will.
We will change that next time. I
Good.
do like monochromes. I'm trying to. My kids say don't make the paint wall black, but I think having a black wall with monochrome pictures should be pretty interesting to look at. But right now the pugs will do it. I've got a real pug, by the way. He's not disturbing me today, which is fantastic. Right, I'm really late for my meeting. I better jump off. I'm going to press. I'm guessing I've never done this before. So if I say stop recording, I'm guessing it will leave a file somewhere, which let me stick it on some server somewhere where you can have a look. And if you think there is anything that's a waste of people's time, then we'll edit it out. But everything else, we'll just publish it online.
Yeah. Have you got a YouTube channel already? You got?
I did set it up. I went on to the grab your smalloutside.com ID wherever you can mission. So I've grabbed it somewhere. I just need to find where I left it. I'll send you the link. If nothing else, I'll just mail you the file somehow.
Chuck it up, stick it online. Yeah.
Sounds good. Off recording now. Have a lovely day. We'll set something up.
Do it again next week. Cheers, Dash.
Cheers then. Take care. Bye-bye. Enjoy yourself. Bye.